I thought she was the one. Turns out she never existed. The first time I saw her, it was raining. Chicago rain, the kind that soaks you to the bone even if you're only outside for a minute. I was huddled under the awning of the Daily Grind, nursing a lukewarm coffee and trying to avoid eye contact with the pigeons. She walked by, head down, the hood of her dark green raincoat pulled tight. Her hair, what I could see of it, was the color of autumn leaves, a rich, fiery red. I don't usually notice people, not really. I'm a web developer. I spend most of my life staring at a screen, bathed in the blue glow of code. But there was something about her. Later that day, the rain had stopped, and the sun was trying, unsuccessfully, to break through the clouds. I went back to the Daily Grind, hoping maybe she'd be there. And she was, sitting at the corner table, reading a book. I almost chickened out. My palms were sweating, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I needed to talk to her. "Excuse me," I stammered. "Is this seat taken?" She looked up, her eyes a startling shade of green, like jade. "No, go ahead." That was it. Simple as that. I sat down, ordered another coffee, and we started talking. Her name was Sarah. She was an artist, she told me, painting landscapes and portraits. She loved old movies, jazz music, and long walks in the park. We talked for hours that day, about everything and nothing. It felt effortless. Over the next few weeks, we became inseparable. We explored the city together, hand in hand, discovering hidden bookstores, cozy restaurants, and art galleries tucked away in forgotten corners of the city. We spent hours just talking, sharing our dreams, our fears, our hopes for the future. I felt like I'd known her my whole life. Rob, my best friend since college, kept saying, "Dude, you're glowing. This Sarah sounds amazing. When am I going to meet her?" I always put it off. "Soon, Rob, soon. We're just enjoying our time together." I think, deep down, I was afraid that if other people saw her, they wouldn't see what I saw, that they wouldn't understand. 3 months. That's all we had. 3 months of perfect happiness. Then, one morning, she was gone. I woke up, and she wasn't there. I figured she'd just gone out for a walk or to grab coffee. But hours passed, and she didn't come back. I tried calling her, but her number was disconnected. I went to her apartment, the address she'd given me, but no one there had ever heard of her. The building manager, a surly man named Henderson, just stared at me like I was crazy. "There's no Sarah living here, buddy. Never has been. Now get lost before I call the cops." I went to the Daily Grind, hoping to find someone who remembered her. But the baristas just shrugged. "Never seen her before, man." Even the old guy who always sat in the corner reading the newspaper didn't remember her. That's when the panic started to set in. I went to Rob. "She's gone, Rob. Sarah's gone. And no one remembers her." He looked at me with concern etched on his face. "Mark, what are you talking about? Who's Sarah?" I stared at him dumbfounded. "Sarah? You know, my girlfriend? The woman I've been spending all my time with for the past 3 months?" Rob shook his head. "Mark, you haven't been dating anyone. You've been working like a madman, coding day and night. I've been worried about you. Maybe you're just stressed out." I felt like the world was tilting on its axis. But the photos. I have photos of us. I pulled out my phone, scrolled through my camera roll. Empty. Every single photo I'd taken of Sarah was gone, replaced by random pictures of buildings, streets, and empty coffee cups. That night, I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, my mind racing. I had to find her. I had to prove that she was real. I started my own investigation. I retraced our steps, visiting all the places we'd been together. The bookstore where we'd spent hours browsing, the restaurant where we'd celebrated her birthday, the park where we'd watched the sunset. But everywhere I went, the answer was the same. No one remembered her. I felt like I was losing my mind. I started seeing Dr. Reed, a therapist Rob had recommended. She was kind and patient, listening to my increasingly bizarre story with a gentle smile. "Mark," she said one day, "it's possible that you're experiencing a delusion, a coping mechanism for stress and loneliness. It's not uncommon." But it felt so real, I pleaded. The way she laughed, the way she looked at me, it was all so real. Dr. Reed nodded sympathetically. "I understand that it feels real, Mark. But sometimes our minds can play tricks on us." I knew she didn't believe me. No one did. I started keeping a journal, documenting every memory I had of Sarah, every detail of our relationship. I wrote down everything, desperate to hold on to her, to prove that she existed. One evening, I was going through my journal, trying to recall the name of her favorite flower. It was lilies, I remembered finally, when I heard a faint scratching sound coming from the apartment next door. I lived in an old building, and the walls were thin, so I was used to hearing noises from my neighbors. But this was different. It sounded like someone was writing. My neighbor was an elderly woman named Mrs. Harper. She was a quiet, reclusive woman who rarely left her apartment. We'd exchanged a few polite greetings in the hallway, but that was it. I pressed my ear against the wall, straining to hear. The scratching continued, followed by a low, rhythmic chanting. It sounded unsettling. I hesitated for a moment, then knocked on her door. The door creaked open, revealing Mrs. Buck Harper standing in the dimly lit hallway. She was a small, frail woman with silver hair and piercing blue eyes. "Can I help you, dear?" she asked, her voice raspy. "I'm sorry to bother you, Mrs. Harper," I said, "but I heard some noises coming from your apartment. I just wanted to make sure everything was okay." She smiled, a thin, unsettling smile. "Everything is fine, dear. Just a bit of late-night reading. Don't worry your head about it." I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something. Over the next few days, the noises continued. The scratching, the chanting. It was driving me crazy. I couldn't focus on my work. I couldn't sleep. I was convinced that Mrs. Harper was involved in Sarah's disappearance. One afternoon, I saw Detective Blackwell, a seasoned detective with a weary look in his eyes, talking to Henderson, the building manager. I knew he was investigating Sarah's disappearance. I decided to approach him. "Detective Blackwell," I said, "I think my neighbor, Mrs. Cratchwell Harper, knows something about Sarah." He sighed, running a hand through his thinning hair. "Mr. Jenkins, we've been over this. There's no evidence that this Sarah ever existed, and Mrs. Harper is a harmless old woman. But I heard her chanting, 'I think she's involved in some kind of ritual.'" Blackwell just looked at me with a mixture of pity and exasperation. "Mr. Jenkins, I understand you're going through a difficult time, but I need you to stop interfering with the investigation. You're not helping." I felt a surge of anger and frustration. No one believed me. No one was taking me seriously. I was alone. That night, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know what Mrs. Harper was hiding. I waited until I was sure she was asleep. Then I slipped out of my apartment and crept down the hallway to her door. I picked the lock with a hairpin I found in my junk drawer, a skill I'd picked up from one of those old movies Sarah loved. The apartment was dark and musty, filled with the smell of incense and old books. The air was heavy, almost suffocating. I moved slowly through the rooms, my heart pounding in my chest. I found a small room at the back of the apartment. It was filled with strange objects, candles, crystals, tarot cards, and a collection of antique dolls with unsettlingly lifelike eyes. On the walls were strange symbols, drawn in what looked like blood. I felt a chill run down my spine. This was not the home of a harmless old woman. In the center of the room was a large wooden chest. I hesitated for a moment, then opened it. Inside, I found a collection of photographs, old photographs dating back decades, and in every photograph there was a person who was slightly out of focus, blurred, as if they didn't quite belong. I recognized one of the people in the photographs. It was Sarah. My breath caught in my throat. I flipped through the photographs, finding more and more pictures of her, each one more disturbing than the last. In some, she was smiling, happy. In others, she looked lost and confused, as if she didn't know where she was. Then, I found a photograph of myself. I was standing next to Sarah, but my face was blurred, just like hers. I looked wrong. I stumbled backward, knocking over a stack of books. The noise startled me and I froze, listening for any sign that Mrs. Harper had woken up. But there was only silence. I turned to leave, but then I saw something else. A small, leather-bound book lying on a table. I picked it up and opened it. It was a journal, and the handwriting, it was Sarah's. I started reading, my hands trembling. I don't know who I am. I don't know where I come from. I just appeared one day, in this city. I feel like I'm not supposed to be here, like I'm a mistake, a glitch in the system. I met someone today. His name is Mark. He's kind and gentle. He sees me. He makes me feel real. I'm starting to fade, I can feel it. My memories are becoming blurry. People are starting to forget me. I don't want to disappear. Mrs. Harper knows. She says I'm not supposed to be here. She says I'm a danger to the balance. She says she can help me, but I don't trust her. The last entry was dated the day before Sarah disappeared. I'm scared. I don't want to die. I don't want to be forgotten. I slammed the journal shut, my mind reeling. Sarah knew she was disappearing, and Mrs. Harper was involved. Suddenly, I heard a noise behind me. I turned around and saw Mrs. Harper standing in the doorway, her eyes glowing with an eerie light. "You shouldn't have come here, dear," she said, her voice low and menacing. "You weren't meant to know." "What did you do to her?" I demanded. "What did you do to Sarah?" She smiled, a chilling smile that sent shivers down my spine. I simply corrected a mistake. She wasn't meant to exist. She was a disruption, a ripple in the fabric of reality. "You're insane," I said, backing away from her. "Am I?" she asked. "Or are you the one who's insane? You're the one who's clinging to a memory that never existed." She raised her hand, and I felt a sudden wave of dizziness. The room started to spin, and my memories of Sarah began to fade, like a photograph exposed to the sun. "Forget her, dear," Mrs. Harper whispered. "Forget her, and everything will be all right." I closed my eyes, fighting against the encroaching darkness. I clung to the memories of Sarah, desperate to hold on to them. Her laugh, her smile, the way she looked at me, I couldn't let her go. I opened my eyes and looked at Mrs. Harper. "I won't forget her," I said, my voice trembling. "I'll never forget her." She sighed, a look of disappointment on her face. "Then you leave me no choice." She raised her hand again, and the room went black. I woke up in my own apartment, lying on the floor. My head was throbbing, and I felt disoriented and confused. I looked around the room, trying to remember what had happened. I remembered breaking into Mrs. Harper's apartment, finding the photographs, reading Sarah's journal. But then, a wave of doubt washed over me. Did it really happen? Or was it just a dream? A nightmare? I looked at my hands, searching for any sign that it was real. A scratch, a bruise, anything. But there was nothing. I stood up and walked over to my desk. I opened my journal, the journal where I had documented all my memories of Sarah. The pages were blank. I stared at the empty pages, my heart sinking. Had I imagined it all? Was Sarah just a figment of my imagination? I sat down at my computer and started to type. I wrote down everything I could remember about Sarah, her name, her appearance, her personality, our relationship. I wrote until my fingers ached and my eyes burned. I finished writing, I leaned back in my chair, exhausted. I looked at the screen, at the words I had written, and then I noticed something strange. The words were fading. Slowly but surely, they were disappearing from the screen. I watched in horror as the last trace of Sarah vanished, leaving behind only a blank page. I closed my eyes, trying to hold on to the memory of her, but it was no use. She was gone. Erased from my mind, from my memory, from the world. I was alone. Years have passed. I still live in the same apartment building. I still see Dr. Reed, although I don't talk about Sarah anymore. I've learned to live with the emptiness, with the knowledge that something is missing from my life. Sometimes, I catch a glimpse of someone who looks like her. A woman with red hair, walking down the street, or sitting in a coffee shop. But when I get closer, it's never her. And then, one day, I saw her. I was walking down the street when I saw a woman standing in front of the Daily Grind. She was wearing a dark green raincoat, and her hair was the color of autumn leaves. It was Sarah. I stopped, my heart pounding in my chest. I wanted to run to her, to embrace her, to tell her how much I had missed her. But then, I hesitated. I remembered what Mrs. Harper had said. She was a disruption, a ripple in the fabric of reality. I realized that if I approached her, if I tried to bring her back into my life, I would be putting her in danger. I would be risking her existence. I made a choice. I turned around and walked away. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if I'll ever see her again. But I know that I'll never forget her, even if no one else remembers her. I live my life, a quiet, solitary life. I work, I sleep, I eat. I try to be normal. But sometimes, late at night, when the city is quiet and the moon is full, I hear a faint scratching sound coming from the apartment next door, and I know that I'm not alone. They're watching.